Hello summoners, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're gonna continue our podcast series. This is episode 2. We're gonna talk about Moleman. Episode 1 was about Colossus, and I will add a link to that video towards the end as a card. But here basically we are gonna show some gameplay. We're gonna assess Moleman in these categories: damage, suicide friendliness, utility, defense, and then a final score, which is basically like an average. So let's start with the gameplay here. And do know that my Moleman, this is the live server, he is at rank 3, but he's not awakened, and we're not running Suicide Mastery because Alliance for Season is on. So let's talk about his damage output. First, let me compare him to other champions in his class, which is Kill. And I'd say he's at number 2 if you do not count Aegon built up, number 3 if you do. And Aegon, if he is fully built up in stuff like Labyrinth or Abyss, if you are using the heavy attack trick, getting hit, getting the Furies, then he is number 1 in skill, damage output wise. Then comes Nick Fury in his second phase, and then Moleman. From all my damage comparisons, that has been kind of what I've observed. And then Hit Monkey, Stealth with Spider-Man, champions like that are kind of close. Crossbones for the MCOC synergy can take over if it's a very long fight like Abyss or maybe even Labyrinth. But if you're talking about bleed damage, I'd say Nick Fury again, second phase Nick Fury, and then Ultron, and then probably Moleman. But like, he's very high damage output character. Like, you won't see huge like yellow numbers, but you will see like basically all of them are yellow numbers, and also the bleed damage is a lot. Once again, just reminding you that we're not running suicides, and he's not a weekend, otherwise it could have been even higher the damage output. But even now, like, he is doing 90 hits and stuff, which is not bad for rank 3 champion. So I would say damage output wise, if we see overall in the game, not top 10, probably somewhere around 25, number 25. And yeah, that gets him 8 points according to me for his damage output. So next up we have Suicide Friendliness, and this character, he just immediately shucks them off and gain 2 charges. So not only does he not take bleed and poison damage, he also gets some benefit out of it, kind of like Ghost and how she gains Furies, but instead he gains 2 charges, which helps because you can only you can get into frenzy by only using 1 heavy attack. So that's nice. And yeah, he's not immune to recoil or anything, but he does get a huge advantage from suicides. He is pretty suicide friendly. I wouldn't say he is the best with suicides, but it's solid 9 out of 10. Next up we have the most important category, which is utility. A character who has damage and no utility is not going to be used that much. And here, although Moleman does not lack utility, he doesn't have that much traditional stuff going on like power control or defensive ability reduction or anything, but he is interesting because he has unstoppable, which is good for against a lot of nodes, like in map 7 and stuff. They are, I don't know what the node is called, but unless you are if you're not unstoppable, you do like X% less damage, and it's barely any damage. And then he has an unblockable special 2. He shrugs off all the debuffs when you start the fight, and basically unless you are in frenzy, he shrugs off the debuffs. As long as you're below 10 charges, you completely ignore evade and auto block, and it's easy to stay below 8 charges and still be in frenzy. So like, I remember the Cavalier node where the opponent had a lot of evade, and every time you prevented it, you get a Fury. He was the best option for it. And even generally speaking, like, let's compare him to someone like Killmonger, who is known for the utility. His True Strike compared to this ability is much weaker in my opinion, because it's hard, first of all, not 100% full time. Second of all, against a lot of special attacks, it's just very hard to get. Probably might even be impossible against some specials, because you have to go extremely quickly after it ends. And yeah, a lot of animations don't really allow that. So I'd say Moleman, very nice counter. Like, I use him a lot in Lance War for evade champions and stuff, and also a huge utility, which is only very few characters have it, is that he doesn't need to parry or intercept for an opening, because like usually against unimmune characters or stuff like that where you can't parry, it's hard for a lot of players, if you, especially if you're not good at intercepting, and if the opponent doesn't have a very easy special to bait. But Moleman, because he goes unstoppable, you can just block, you'll go unstoppable, and that's your opening. You go counter that opponent, and that's huge. Like, that is ability that only characters like Quake, Ghost, champions like that have. That you don't have to parry, you don't have to intercept, you can just easily get an opening. Ghost with her phase, Quake with her evade thing, she doesn't really need an opening. But yeah, that's huge. So a lot of utility. I will give him 8 out of 10. Now, not that many people care about defensive potential in the game. Like, if you are in a low tier war, you probably don't want to rank up for defense, and if you rank up someone like Moleman, even it doesn't really matter how good a defender he is, you want to save him for attack. But if you are one of those people who care about defense, and I'd say it is overall, like, having when we have champions like Doom and Nick Fury, who are like one of the best attackers, also one of the best defenders, it is an important character to have if we are judging them on every aspect of the game. And defensive wise, he's not the best, he's not the worst either. Like, I would place him as a diversity placement. I wouldn't really expect to get him to get kills in platinum or master tier, but maybe in like gold, silver, he might get kills on some nodes. He has, like, he can shrug off debuffs and stuff. His special 2 is unblockable, but it's pretty easy to evade, if I'm being honest. And I don't know, he could be alright on defense, not the best, not the worst. Diversity placement, I'll give him a 7. Like, he's better than Colossus. I gave Colossus a 5 because he's just a diversity placement. He's a little bit better than that, he can get an occasional kill, so I'll give him 7 out of 10. So the final score out of 10 is going to be 8, because if you add everything up divided by 4, it comes out to be 8. And I'd say that's pretty fair for a character like Moleman. You know, he is not going to be a character who should be like, you shouldn't take him up over champions like Quake, Ghost Rider, Corvus Glaive, Hyperion, and you know, there are a few characters I'd say, but he's a champion. It doesn't really matter where you are progression wise. You could be done with everything. You could be still on Act 4. He could be a 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, 6-star. He could be awakened, unawakened. He could be high sig, and again, if you're unawakened, then no sigs. Doesn't matter. I think he's definitely worthy of the catalyst. It doesn't matter what rank you want to take him to. You should do it, because he is a character that will come in handy, who is very, very fun to play. Like, fun to play is, it's a very hard thing to explain, especially like if you don't have a Moleman, if you don't play him, then yeah, I don't really expect you to understand. But and it can't be a meter, like it can't be an aspect of this report card thing, because it's very, very subjective, right? But in my opinion, Moleman is one of the most fun characters to play, Spider-Ham being the most fun in the entire game. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for this one. Let me show you the final report card here. And after this, we are going to see the end of that huge SP2 against Rhino with class advantage. And yeah, that finishes everything up. That's gonna do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Honestly, subscribe to the channel, stay safe, have a good one, and bye bye.